Hi, everybody. Welcome as you're coming into the room. So happy that you are here today. My name is Heather Coulehan. Take a minute to get settled in. You've had a busy morning, so take some deep breaths while people are coming in. We'll just wait a couple of minutes while folks are coming in. Get yourself sorted with chat. We'll be using chat quite a bit today, so if you can have that open, that will be useful today. And feel free to have your camera on or off, whatever is working best for you. Now, maybe close your eyes, imagine that we were all together sitting around a round table, chatting with your neighbor. And feel free to start entering in the chat a hello to all of us. I have a gathering activity where we'll do that, but as you're getting settled in, feel free to do that. All right. Hi, Stephanie. Thanks very much. Esther, I see you. Thanks for that greeting. Monica is here. Billy is here. And also, as you're getting settled in, and I'll prompt you to do this in our gathering, feel free to go into the participant menu and rename yourself. That will make it easier for us to call each other by the name we'd like to be called. So if you just hover over your name in the participant menu, you can click on the button, the More button, and that will give you an option to rename yourself. And I'm suggesting that you rename yourself with the name you'd like to be called and your community where you are. That will help us geographically know where everybody is. And then also the pronouns that you prefer if you're comfortable putting those into your rename. So, but again, I'll cue you to do that when we have our gathering circle. So it kind of looks like maybe we are all in the room together. So I think we'll go ahead and get started. And it has been a busy morning for you and a busy day and a half in this amazing conference, the Alaska After School Conference. I mean, what a delight to be together, even virtually. I mean, that is how we have to connect right now. So welcome into this space together. So it has been a busy morning, a busy day and a half. And so I'd like to give us a chance to just get grounded together in this Zoom room. So I've got a breathing, grounding exercise for us to do, and it's just a minute long. So I'd invite you to participate in it, whether it's in your comfort zone or outside of your comfort zone. It's just a minute of breathing, and it has both a sound and a visual that will help us just take some deep breaths together. So feel free to close your eyes and use the sound as a way to breathe in and breathe out together. Also feel free to soften your gaze and watch the image breathing in and out, cueing us. So we'll give it a try. Hopefully the video connection or the audio connection is working. So we'll give it a try. And if it doesn't work, then we will have a different way to ground together. So get comfortable, get settled in, and let's just take a minute and breathe together. Hi, welcome back from that moment of just being present and being together in the same space. Oops, and clearly is wanting us to keep breathing together. But so we are together in this space to have some conversations. And we are here to have conversation, really answer that question that I posed in the title, SEL now more than ever. So to have some conversation about why that is the case right now. We're going to explore the neuroscience of relationships. Hopefully we're going to spark some ideas that we get from each other about relationship building with the youth that we work with and SEL skill building, again, with the youth that we work with for all students. And then also do some building our own SEL skills as we collaborate together and build relationships across the state. So how are we going to do that today? We've got a couple of protocols and practices that we're going to use throughout this time together today. We're going to talk about agreements in just a minute. We'll have a gathering circle where we'll invite all voices into the room. And thanks to those who have been typing hellos into the chat box and getting us started with that. We'll talk a little bit about the neuroscience of relationships, like I mentioned. I had been planning for table talk and breakout rooms, but sadly that went sideways. And so we are not going to do breakout rooms today. Oh, but I think we may actually be able to do breakout rooms today. So stay tuned.
Sorry, Heather. I'll just let everyone know we are working on it on our end, and we apologize for that. So they were able to change some settings. So whenever you do want to break out, we can try and do that. So what participants will have to do at that point, if you're watching through the website, just go ahead and refresh your website, or if you are watching through the web app, if you go to the website into the session, you just need to refresh the page and just click the link to join the Zoom room. It just gives capability to turn on your audio and turn on your camera and see the little message that says go to your breakout room. And if that doesn't work, we can do a workaround if that works for you, Heather.
Okay, thanks. Thanks, Anna. Thanks for that creative problem solving, tapping into your own adult SEL skills and getting that creative problem solving going. So thanks for that. So we may do breakout rooms or we may just stay together and chat in the chat box. We'll talk a little bit about why SEL now, and we'll do a quick debrief at the end, and then we'll do a closing circle. I have a video to close us out, and then if you are interested, please join me after the video to stay in the room together and do some question and answer or continue the conversation. So that is where we are going today. So our agreements, one thing that I do truly believe in the core of my heart is foundational to social and emotional learning is having agreed upon norms of collaboration, how we are going to be together in this space. And so what you see up on the screen right now are agreements from the First Alaskans Institute. And so I would invite you to use those. I know that the Alaska After School Network uses agreements that I've so appreciated during the statewide calls when I've participated in those. So you'll see some overlap between the agreements if you're familiar with those. And one that I really hold dear to my heart and I think is foundational to our conversation today is in every chair, a leader. We each bring our whole experience into this conversation and this space together, and we welcome that. You are in your professional role, and you are also uncles and aunties and parents and grandparents and hikers and dancers and sewers and drummers. And we welcome all of that into the space today. Listening to understand, and then when speaking, creating that space for all voices. And really, while we have the group wisdom here today in this room, challenges to solutions. We know what the challenges are. We've been living the challenges for the last, how many months has it been? We've been living the challenges. And so while we have these amazing brains together, let's focus on solutions. Our value of humor helps us. It helps us carry what often feels heavy. And then take care of yourself, take care of each other. We're in this together, and kindness matters. That's one that I took from the Alaska After School Network agreements, because I really appreciate stating that very explicitly. So these are our agreements today. If these are agreements that you are up for honoring for yourself, could you go into, let's see, underneath in the participant menu, you will see a, let's see, looking, well, maybe we don't have reactions here. Oh, there are reactions. Yes, thank you. People are showing me how to do the reactions. So it looks like through your video, you can do reactions. So I see folks giving the thumbs up to that. So thanks very much for agreeing to uphold our agreements today. Okay, our gathering circle. As I mentioned, we bring our whole selves into this space. And I mentioned that I'm the social and emotional learning coordinator for the Association of Alaska School Boards. I'm here in Juneau. If I didn't mention that, I meant to. So that's my professional role. And you see some images up on the screen of my personal roles. I am friend. You see my hiking buddies, my pandemic hiking buddies. You see my family bubble there in the pandemic. You see my partner. You see my parents being silly on Zoom. So I invite you to bring all of your roles into this space and speak from all of your roles, not just your professional role. So here's our gathering activity. And if you haven't already renamed yourself in the participant menu, so we have a sense of where you are located too. That helps us with our big Alaska geography. And in the chat box, what relationships are helping you get through the pandemic? So rename yourself so we know where you are geographically, and what relationships are helping you get through the pandemic. And I wish I could see photos of the relationships that you hold dear. So we'll just imagine what we would be seeing in your photos as you type into the chat box. Okay, all right. Immediate family, sister, boyfriend, nephew, my cat. Yes, to those pets that are helping us get through. Church, really important right now. Coworkers, learning to connect in new ways. Collaborating with educators, Zooming with friends, husband, grandkids, aunties, dog mom, virtual movie nights. So real creativity and how we're connecting right now. Pets and wildlife, being outside, bubble friends, extended family. Okay, so let's see, we have North Pole here, we have Anchorage here. Scrolling through to see where else we have Fairbanks, Juneau. Hello, fellow Juneauites, Wasilla. Great, Anchorage, Matsu. So we really are all around the state. And Homer, what a delight that we can be here in this space, Kotzebue, and be connected in these new ways. Okay, Alaskan views, boy, being able to get outside and exercise. What a gift we have in Alaska that we're able to do that. Okay, people are posting in chat, are bringing photos into chat. So if you have a photo handy that you can drag into chat, please feel free to do that. What fun. Me, I'm learning new things. I could invite people to do that so we really could see photos of you. Okay. All right, thank you. From COVID bed, but still learning. So thank you, Pie Lady in North Pole. We're happy to have you here and joining us. Thank you for that. Wanted to introduce you to your nervous system just briefly. It's a system you know and probably really know well from the pandemic. Maybe you're getting to know your nervous system better in the pandemic. But I wanted to, the graphic that you see on the screen is from Zaretta Hammond. She's got a great book, Culturally Responsive Teaching in the Brain. And I would highly recommend it. And this is something that she talks about in that book. So think about a day at work, maybe a rough day at work. I'm thinking about a particular day where I had a lot of Zoom meetings. And after one of the Zoom meetings, I had a colleague who texted me because she noticed through Zoom that I wasn't quite myself. And in fact, what was happening was that my sympathetic nervous system was totally activated. And that is the part of our nervous system, that fight, flight, or freeze part of our nervous system. And for me, when cortisol is running through my body, when I'm activated, what that looks like for me is freezing, is like paralyzing. And so my colleague had noticed that and she texted me. And her text, actually, just receiving her text, activated my polyvagal nervous system. And that's the part of nervous system that keeps us connected to others. It releases oxytocin hormone that immediately triggers feeling safe in the presence of others. And her text triggered that in me. And in her text, she suggested that we go for a walk and talk. She also lives downtown Juneau. So we put on our masks and we were able to get outside. And that activated my parasympathetic nervous system. That got the dopamine and serotonin going. That's the part of our nervous system that manages our relaxation response. So if that breathing that we did together at the beginning felt really good, it was your parasympathetic nervous system kicking on and that dopamine and serotonin starting to settle you as we came into the space together. And so you can see in that rough work day how relationship actually impacts body biology, which is the piece that I often forget. I know that relationships are so central and important, and I forget that it actually has that physical impact and response on our bodies. So just wanted to bring us back to that. And as we carry forward, really pose that question as caring adults with the youth that we work with, how can we deactivate the sympathetic nervous system? So deactivate that flight, fight, freeze response by activating, using our relationships to activate the parasympathetic and the polyvagal nervous system. So to really trigger young people's body to release dopamine, serotonin, and oxytocin. So I want us to hold that at the center of our conversation. So here is the first time we were going to have our table talk. If we were in person, I would be saying to you, turn to the people next to you and have a conversation. And I think what we might do is just in the interest of time, I'm worried if people need to have to sign out and sign back in. I'm kind of thinking we might lose some people. So let's see how it goes with this one and have a chat, have conversation in chat about these questions. And then maybe we'll give it a go for the second round of table talk or breakout rooms. So the question that I was going to pose to you in this conversation time, two questions. How do you or your program check in with the students that you work with, the kids that you work with on a regular basis? How do you check in? How do you build those check-ins right into what you're doing right now? And then the second question, which goes a little bit deeper, which is, how do you build relationships with youth who are especially hard for you to connect with? So I think we all have kids that we connect with really easily. And then for me, it's often easy to not connect with the ones that are a little more challenging for me. I get other things going on and I'm like, oh, I realize, wait, I haven't connected with the students who are challenging. So let's focus on the first question first. How do you and or your program check in with kids on a regular basis? So I see some ideas coming in on chat, check-in questions for all our events, peer ed, one-on-ones during peer ed meetings, lots of open-ended questions. Schedule a meeting time twice each week for students to connect with their after-school teacher. Let's see, working towards polling, social media, so using social media, regular phone check-ins between classes by staff. And I think phone is so key in our state. That's what I'm hearing for kids and families that don't have access or regular access to internet. Phone, incredible kind of thing. Cards mailed to them, postal system. Wow, we love you, postal system. So that, and again, that can work like a text message where just getting that card from you triggers that oxytocin and triggers that sense of well-being. A thought for the day, open-ended questions, see breakout rooms. When breakout rooms work, they're great. And that's great. Genevieve, I see you join the breakout rooms to see what they're saying, to connection. Conversations together while we're not facing each other. Ooh, boy, sometimes it's easier to have those conversations, isn't it? Thermometers, hold up thumbs up or thumbs down to see where we're at. So using those nonverbals, we can do that through Zoom. Emails. What a great way to connect that kids can circle back to when they do have the internet access to access email. Formal check-ins. I think that's really important. We've been getting some ideas for informal check-ins and building check-ins right into what you are doing on like a systematic basis. I think that is really important to have those formal check-ins. Zones of regulation. I'm glad you mentioned that, Billy. Thanks. We'll talk about that in just a minute. Humor break. Level the playing field. Okay. Ask questions for kids to answer in the chat box. And then you respond to what they're saying for everyone. And boy, that is something nice now, isn't it? That sometimes it's easier to interact in chat than it is verbally. So that's neat that we have that resource now. Let's shift into that second conversation. And this gets to the point, I think, that was brought up about building in formal times and being very intentional about how we're connecting and having to like think about it. And so the second question of how do you build relationships with youth who are especially hard for you to connect with? How do you do that? So I'll give you a minute to think about that and get some chat going. And I'm guessing maybe that's a little bit of a harder question to answer. Okay, great. You can see, as I can see, answers coming in. So checking in consistently to build trust so that even when it's hard to check in or it hasn't, like it went sideways or it didn't feel like it made an impact, continuing to do that consistently. So the young person is building that trust and knows they can count on you, finding their passion and being intentional about how you do that, like having a structure or a protocol, a way that you can find out every young person's passion. Multiple platforms. So keep trying. Curiosity and patience. Tyler, thanks for that. Really building those mindsets in ourselves. And that's part of our adult SEL skills right there, is regulating ourselves and continuing to be curious and patient even when things go sideways. Walk and talk, great way to connect. Leadership roles. So really giving youth that purpose and elevating them into leadership. It's a great way to connect. Again, that mindset, it's not about me, it's about them. Being open and non-judgmental, letting them set boundaries. Being a good listener, having lots of patience, being consistent. I'm hearing a lot of thoughts for us about how we reflect on our own practice, and that's really an important piece of social and emotional learning, is us cultivating our own skills and reflecting on our practice to see who we're missing. Through scheduled activities, games can be a great way to reach kids that maybe we're not able to reach in other ways. Having things like art projects where kids can show where they are emotionally without having to verbalize it, because that can be really hard for kids. Heck, that's hard for me sometimes to verbalize how I'm feeling. So circles to keep connected, again, having those regular practices that kids can trust into, like can rest into. I know there will be a circle and I know how we interact in a circle. Great ideas here. I'll problem solve. We'll figure out how to make sure you get this chat back to you. We were going to be working in a shared document here, and I'll just show it to you right now, because maybe we can figure out how to get our chat into this shared document. So we'll keep working on that. That will be our creative challenge for the day, is how to get our notes into that document. So let me just post that link right now into chat so everybody has our shared document, even if we're not going to be using it today. It has some resources at the bottom, so I want to make sure that you have it, and we'll circle back to it. Okay. Somebody brought up the zones of regulation, and I wanted to bring a similar tool to you, and I thought we could use it as our gathering back if we had been in breakout rooms. And so what you see is a ruler, which is about regulating emotions, and it's an approach that comes out of the Yale Center for Emotional Intelligence, and it's similar to zones of regulation. You see colors there. One thing I appreciate about rulers' mood meter is that it gives us two axes. So we can think about how pleasant our emotions are feeling to us. So that's the bottom axis. And then the side axis is energy. How much energy is behind my emotion? So you can see in the blue zone there, it's not very pleasant and not much energy. And then
your screen is still on the shared document,
which is not very helpful.
There we go.
Thank you so much for unmuting and bringing that to my attention. So much more helpful now when you can actually see what I'm talking about and aren't just visualizing it in your head. So that bottom axis is pleasantness, side axis is energy. So this question doesn't quite fit right now because we didn't get to connect in breakout rooms. But I'm wondering, like right now, we're like halfway through our time together. How are you feeling right now? You could type in a color, and or you could type in a word to name your feeling. That's another thing that I appreciate about Ruler's mood meter. Okay, so we've got some greens coming in, a little bit frustrated, at ease, some yellow there, high pleasant, high energy there, green. which is high pleasant, low energy. Sometimes I think in Zoom, it brings up low energy in us. Okay, green all the way. Exhausted. Yeah, it has been, there's a lot to exhaust us in life right now. A bit anxious, some blues, some low, not very pleasant and low energy right now. Light blue. Yeah, we can get into different shades of colors using this. Tired, sleepy, right? A bit restless right now. One of our working agreements is take care of yourself and take care of each other. So one advantage to being virtual like this together is that if you are feeling tired, if you are feeling sleepy, I invite you to stand up, move your body a little bit, and continue to be present in that way, doing what you need to do to stay connected to the conversation. That's a long way of saying that all of the emotions that we bring into this space are important, and just to acknowledge that emotions and not beat ourselves up about having those emotions. We welcome them all into this space. And we know that emotions matter. They matter for attention, memory, and learning. They matter for decision making, for relationship building, health and well-being, and for performance. And I don't know about you, but for me, I have really learned this during the pandemic. Like I've seen this in myself, how my emotions have been impacting my performance at work in a way that I knew, but maybe it was easier to forget before the pandemic. So my question to you is, what have you learned about your own social and emotional skills during the pandemic? Your strengths, your challenges? What you see on the screen is CASEL, the Collaborative for Academic, Social, and Emotional Learning's way of thinking about social and emotional competency areas around self-awareness and social awareness. And I have two skills circled there because I think this pandemic has really built these skills of empathy and perspective taking in us in a way, again, that maybe we had before, but perhaps not as deeply when we have been in this tough experience altogether. So decision making is part of social and emotional learning, self-management, and then relationship skills. So I'm curious to hear from you what you've learned about yourself in the pandemic. So maybe we could get some chat going about that. Where have you seen strengths in yourself, and where have you seen challenges? So I'll give you some time to put that into chat. Okay, so some learnings about the balance, kinds of balance that we need, between alone time and together time with other folks. Patience, when we're together with partner, family, kids, all from the same, doing the same, in the same space. Less structured schedule, that is a challenge, and regulating ourselves during a less structured schedule can be really challenging. Easier to regulate ourselves, be calm with less things going on. Okay, busy pre-COVID, and COVID experience has brought a little more calmness or some ways to settle down. So some learning there. Done better at doing stuff for myself that are positive, but do notice getting anxiety, watching too much news. Boy, we have to regulate that, don't we? The information that we're taking in. Goal setting, organizational skills, our strengths, self-discipline, decision-making, dealing with stress and worry, big challenge there. Hard to get, motivation can be harder in the situation that we're in. Tons of tech issues, that's been hard, put on a strain. Self-motivation and discipline are tested while working at home. Lots more time and intention for self-care. Yeah, boy, big learning on that. Hard for those of us who recharge through interaction. Okay. Hard to think about our days when our days, personal time and work time can flow into each other. Okay to slow down, giving ourselves permission, that self-compassion, that is a skill we're really needing to learn together. Prioritizing exercise so we can regulate through exercise. Again, I'm ever so grateful to be in Alaska where we can get out. Okay. So some harassment being experienced, COVID-related harassment. So that's brought up for our own selves, and then think about what kids' experiences are. Loving the attention I spend on self-care. Okay, great. So there have been so many learnings for our own selves in COVID. And I do think that it is helping us develop that skill of empathy that, again, I think we already had, but in a maybe deeper way. And I really appreciate, I see the ways you are supporting each other in chat. So thank you for that way of taking care of yourselves and taking care of each other. So what you see on the screen right now, I don't know if any of you have had the opportunity to be part of a workshop or a webinar that Ricky Robertson has offered. The Alaska Staff Development Network has featured him during the RTI MTSS conference. He was a keynote speaker last year, and he will be again this year. He's also taught webinars for ASDN since the pandemic started. And you can access those recorded webinars with him through the ASDN site. That document I sent you has resources in it and has the links to that. So I'll circle back to that at the end. But this is a slide from a webinar that he recently did from last week, actually. And I really connected with it because it was about, as you can see, fostering student resilience during distance learning. And I annotated the slide, and I put a star next to schedule regular check-ins because we just talked about that and got so many ideas going about how to do that. I kind of like to focus our next layer of chat conversation about practicing self-regulation and stress management, how we help our kids do that. And then I also want to get some conversation going on how do we highlight the good that's happening in the world, and how do we help kids help others so they have that sense of self-efficacy. So that's where I'd like to go in this conversation next. Our next table talk here, which is our chat box talk instead of table talk. And our conversation questions are, and let's start with the first one. How do you or could you teach the kids that you work with self-regulation and stress management skills? So take a minute to think. How do you or could you help them practice those self-regulation and stress management skills? What are you doing? What are your programs doing? What could you do? Knowing that this is so important for our own selves, we just saw that. How do we help kids develop these skills? Gratitude journaling. Big piece there about both self-regulation and then also seeing the good. Practice with them. Starting the day with a short breathing activity, fitness break, stretch movement, tapping, other quick de-stressors. So really building that in. Breathing techniques. So learning those together and using them. Couple of people talking about breathing techniques. And specific breathing techniques, box breathing, guided meditation. Model This is really important. Model making mistakes and that it's okay to do that. That's how we learn. So really modeling that and having conversation about that. Mindfulness really seems to be a common theme that I'm seeing. Breathing skills, time outside, those things that we know help us. When we can do that in person, that's great. And I think you bring up an important point across the state. We are in different places in what our activities look. In person, still in Matsu, a lot of places are by distance. So really having those creative challenges of how are we teaching and practicing these skills from distance? What does it look like in person? What does it look like in a mixed kind of setting? And I would just say, I think you are superheroes and rock stars. You are foundational for the youth that you work with. And the ideas that are coming in are just remarkable in the ways that you are finding to continue to support young people in this situation when we know how hard it is for us as well. Validating their emotions and stress first before dismissing it. So again, that self-reflection there, tuning in, how do we validate them if our automatic response might be to dismiss it? So thank you for, again, highlighting that self-reflection. So what about that second question? And we've been hearing some of that in the chat too, about how do you or could you highlight the good happening and ways that kids can help others, which gives them a sense of self-efficacy and hope when they have a meaningful role. So we've seen some of those ideas coming in through chat and perhaps some more ideas about highlighting the good if other things are occurring to you about how we could do that. I think the gratitude journaling really gets to that piece of highlighting the good. I've got a friend who talks about her son having this vortex of negativity, and gratitude is something that they're going to try out to help with that vortex of negativity. Ways to promote kindness, gratitude check-ins, photo share of projects. So really connecting in that way of images. Writing letters, making holiday cards. Whew, really important right now for the elderly who can't get out and are probably feeling, I know are feeling lonely. So what a great way to really provide such a huge valuable service. What's happening in our community, in our world, try to follow up a negative event with a positive one. So keeping that balance, like our first out gay mayor in Anchorage, things to celebrate. So really thinking about lesson on humanization as a pre-lesson to slavery unit. Some of the resources that you'll see in the resource list are great connections to curriculum resources, so check those out. Having fun activities to look forward to. And I really connect with your gratitude practice. It's similar to my gratitude practice, so that's neat to see. Promote sharing the positive things in their lives if they think, even if they think it's silly and small, celebrating. And it can be hard, I think, right now to remember to celebrate, and what an important piece. One more silly check-in here. Always, I like to offer up ways to smile together and check in. So at this point, we have about 15 more minutes together. And I'm wondering which dog or cat describes your experience so far, or where you are right now, just to give ourselves a little bit of a smile. So which dog or cat describes you? Okay, so we've got 4 going on, 7. Tell us if it's if your dog or cat too. Interesting here, which we're drawn to. Okay. So looks like we've got it kind of mixed here, dog and cat. Maybe more dogs than cats here. Yep, so much information, right? Big eyes there. Okay. Right. Thanks for that. All of the above at any given moment. That's so true. Let me go back one. Okay, I see 4 there. Yes. Yep. Dog 1 reminds me a little bit of Yoda right now, I think. And that makes me think of you all, that really the force is strong in you all. I can see that in the chat conversation that's happening. And the way that you support young people in tapping into their own skills, that really makes me think of Yoda too, and dog number 1 right there. So very fun. Well, I just wanted to say a big congratulations to all of us that we actually have been doing SEL together. You can see the learning that we set up for ourselves on the left-hand side there. And you can see the process that we used, because the way we teach is as important as what we are teaching. And so you can see the processes that we used today that helped us practice our own SEL skills as we were going forward together. We didn't have the chance to be in breakout rooms talking to each other, so I'm sorry that we missed that chance. We didn't get to practice those relationship skills, but I saw those happening in the chat box as folks were supporting each other and responding to each other. I'm always surprised how there can be those connections through the chat box. I think right now I'll just pause. I've been talking a lot because I think I just was thrown a little bit off, and I wasn't sure how it would go to have people unmute. But maybe let's take about 5 minutes that folks who were interested in unmuting and giving comment on what we've talked about today. We could open the space for that. I'm sorry, I didn't open that space earlier. So let's just, I will stop talking and open the space for anybody who wants to unmute. And if that's possible, I think it must be possible. Yep. Anybody who'd like to unmute and just say what's on your mind or in your heart right now?
I will,
Hello,
Heather.
Billy from Fairbanks.
Okay, let's see. I heard 2 people. Billy, I think I heard somebody's voice just before you, so maybe we could
sure.
go. And then you're up next, Billy, after the first voice speaks.
Okay. Hi, Heather. It's Kristen from Juneau.
Hi, Kristen.
How are you? I really enjoyed your the commentary today, and everybody, and I enjoyed just the whole SEL. It's just something that when we first experienced COVID, I found the Yale Center for the one that you referenced earlier for emotional intelligence, I think it is. And the guy that started that was offering free workshops as a result, in response to the COVID. And I took a couple of his workshops for free. And I would encourage anybody, I think he still is doing that. If you find him on Facebook, you can take his workshops for free. And I think it's something that I probably should circle back around and close the loop, because I don't think I have done enough of it with the after school program that I'm running. We need to do more SEL, but I think it's important, to, like you said, it's important to model as well.
And thank you for highlighting that, Kristen. So Castle Cares is, right. Thank you, Sierra. I see you just mentioned that as well. Castle is amazing. Castle Cares. I think you can find Mark Brackett is the man's name that you're speaking to, Kristen. And you can find his recorded webinars. Boy, I love that idea about circling back to those. I really got so much out of those. And he is such an interesting man. I find him. So lots to learn from that. So thanks for that. And Billy, what's on your mind or heart?
Well, I just want to say, first of all, Chrissy, I did I did do a couple of those classes as well.
Oh, great.
What was on my mind was I just want to thank you for sharing your circle there and talking about the body biology and how relationships, how it responds to relationships. And I was just kind of reading that in my gratitude journal about that. And then I just really appreciate you bringing it up again, just kind of really having it make sense, more sense now, how important that is now. So thank you.
Thanks, Billy, for re-highlighting those two, the body biology and then that gratitude again. Wow, both of those so important. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else want to speak out what's in your mind or your heart right now?
Yeah, this is the pie lady from North Pole. And I work at an elementary school, and you know, I do have COVID, and I think we need to teach our families that having COVID is okay. It should not be treated like a bad thing, because look at this. I'm learning and I'm in my bed. And my husband has it. We have a little foster kid here that we have to keep 14 days quarantined. And, you know, it's all what you make of it. I am under the weather, but not so under the weather that I can't keep learning. And I wasn't going to miss this gathering here of after schools program at all. I mean, I told my boss, I'm in it. So, and I'm feeling a little under the weather, but today is a better day than the other days. So, but I'm just happy we are here together, and we should teach our families that it's okay if you get it. It's not a bad thing. I mean, you didn't will it on yourself. So teaching our families out there that, you know, it's okay. It's just part of what life is right now. COVID's part of our life right now. So, you know, don't make it such a bad thing out there that having COVID, or if your family accidentally gets it. Just moving on, moving forward, moving positive. So, you know, some of this, what we're learning in the last 2 days is telling us that we, you know, we're going to move on positively and not negatively.
Wow, lots of affirmations coming in the chat box right now to what you've just said. Positive mindset is so important, and thanks for modeling that. You are really living and providing that example for students and families, and for other adults in the community. And you bring up a really great point, and I think it had come up earlier in the chat conversation too, about harassment. And so some of the resources that I've included in that document for you, you can see lesson plans around how to teach about COVID and teach about that harassment or that bullying. So check out those resources. So thank you too for sparking in me to mention that. Thank you. Someone else like to speak what's in your mind or heart? Well, I'll take this opportunity to go back to our shared document, because I want to show, here we go. I want to show where the resources are. So what I will do shortly after we ring off, I'll take out all of these spaces for our breakout rooms, since we didn't do that. And I think maybe what we could do is, hopefully I can get the chat. If I can get access to the chat, I'll take the chat and I'll paste it into this document. And then we can capture the ideas, the group wisdom that came out in the chat. So I will take out these boxes that you're seeing and I'll paste in the chat. And then, ooh, SEL from a distance resources here. And I think I'm hoping these resources are going to be useful. This one here is a list. I'm sorry to give you a list that takes you to another list. I'm working on changing that so you don't have to do that. But this is the list of distance SEL lessons. So really some great resources here. I think this teachable moments, that's what I was thinking of, the Morningside Center for Teaching Social Responsibility. I've seen some great lessons in there to speak to the new stigmas. Thanks for that in the chat. Rhonda, you just typed that in. So check out these teachable moments. Greater Good in Education has great lesson plans as well. I think restorative practices, circles got mentioned in the chat, so some resources about that. So this is kind of a messy list. It's not pretty. I'm also working on that. So hopefully at some point I'll have a pretty list to get back to you. Other resources on this in this resource page. Here's the Alaska Staff Development Network recorded SEL webinars that Ricky Robertson was part of. I think Castle Cares. Yep, there's Castle Cares right there with the link to their weekly webinars and to their document, their SEL roadmap. And I will also highlight See Alaska Heritage Institute. There are 3 videos listed there from their recent webinar series about the history of Alaska Native education. And I'd highly recommend these webinars right now as we are thinking about our kids, our community experiences with the pandemic and what that may be bringing up and what strengths and resilience that is tapping into as well. So these are 3 great webinars to tap into for that. And then also is the Transforming Schools Trauma Engaged Practice Framework that was co-created by Alaskans. So you have the website there to get in and explore around that resource. Today we shined light on 3 of those components. We were talking about skill instruction, relationship building, and climate, positive climate. So when you have a chance, highly recommend this resource as well. So just as a quick closing, we've started it a little bit already, but this question of what has spoken to your heart in the session, your heart or mind? And then also the question, out of all the strategies you heard today from your colleagues, some that we experienced together just in the way the workshop was set up, what are you inspired to try out? So I'll give you a minute to answer one of those questions. What's in your heart? What are you inspired to try out? And then I'll play this last video. And isn't it interesting? We talked so much about gratitude today. And this is a video called Grateful, a Love Song to the World, which is really one of my favorite videos right now. So I'll play the video. I think it's about 2 minutes. And then if you're interested in staying on to have more conversation, I think we have until 1:20 that we can stay on and continue chatting together. So I see some things coming in. Sounds like the resources are useful, both the resource list and our group wisdom ideas that came in. Shared journals, gratitude journals, something to try out. Keep those ideas coming in chat, and I am going to here's our closing circle slide. I'm not sure I had it up. I'm not tracking very well with the slides today. Okay. List of ideas from the shared wisdom, sharing those out with direct service providers. Great, so I will make sure to commit to getting the chat entered into our document, so that makes it easier to share. Okay, so here is grateful. And if it works best for you to ring off and take a break, please do that. And if it works best for you to hang out here, watch the video and have more conversation, please do that as well. Again, I think you are superheroes. You are Yoda. And I just really so appreciate the work and how you bring your whole self to this work with students and families and communities. So big gratitude for that. Okay, grateful, a love song to the world.
You're my life, you're my breath, you're a smile, you're my guest. You're the earth, you're the sun, you're the grass, you are love. You're my hands, you're a bug, you're my eyes, you're a hug. You're the light in the dark, you're the spark, you are fun. You're my mom, you are water, you're the stars, you're my daughter. You're my friend till the end, you're my dreams, you're my father. You're the ants on the ground, the miracles that surround. I'm feeling it all around, the hemisphere in the clouds. You're my pain, you're my sorrow, you're my hope for tomorrow. You're the strength when I'm hollow, you're the path that I follow. You're the blessings that exist, the small things that are bliss. The gift to realize that everything
all that
is a gift.
I am, all that I see, all that I've been, and all that I'll ever be is a blessing. It's so amazing, and I'm grateful for it all, for it all. Grateful for it
You're the
all.
blessings every time I try to count. You're the lessons that I learn every time I turn around. You're the water when I'm burned every time I think I found everything I'm looking for. You're the sign saying stop to take a bow and keep moving forward and start looking towards your heart. It'll open all the doors and only then you'll start to hear the world singing chorus with your mind and heart. Aligned in purpose, everything
All
will feel
that I
gorgeous.
am, all that I see, all that I've been, and all that I'll ever be is a blessing. It's so amazing, and I'm grateful for it all, for it all.
Every day I sit and pray cause what I have is more than I deserve or could ever imagine. How do I give back to all of this magic and spread the love so everybody can have it? Doesn't matter if I'm rich or poor, if I got a family or if I'm all alone. Bad things happen, I can just complain and moan. But there's a million things that I can be grateful for.
So I lift up my hands now, and I open my heart, and my gratitude goes out to everything near and far. All that I am,
Everything I am and everything I see, everything I hope and everything I dream, everything I feel and everything I be. I look deep down and feel all the blessings. Everything I am and everything I see, everything I hope and everything I dream, everything I feel and everything I be. I'm grateful for it all. It's amazing. Everything I am and everything I see, everything I hope and everything I dream, everything I feel and everything I be. I look deep down and feel all the blessings. Everything I am and everything I see, everything I hope and everything I dream, everything I feel and everything I be. I'm grateful for it all. It's amazing.
grateful for it all.
You're the blessings that exist, the small things that are bliss, the gift to realize that everything is a gift.
Thank you, Heather, for that super uplifting video. An amazing, super amazing way to end. I just feel like Yes, I feel Billy Smith right now, uplifted, arms in the air. So I hope everyone will just join me to take a minute to thank Heather so much, not only just for this really great SEL session, but for all of her work with the Association of School Boards, for coming into our communities, our schools, our districts to really be so impactful with spreading the best practice for social emotional learning, for trauma informed practice, and for really inspiring the work that clearly is so meaningful to all of us. I'd like to remind you to please, at the end of the session, hop on and fill out your evaluation. Let Heather know how much that the chat and the opportunities to connect and the resources really meant to you. There's a link in the box to that survey now, and I invite you to please stay on if you have specific questions or want to share out some celebrations, to stay on for, we have about 10 more minutes for direct questions. You could either put those in the chat or unmute yourself and ask away. So again, thank you. I'm just deeply grateful for this time and the opportunity and the space that you shared today.
Thank you for those kind words, Courtney. And thanks for the kind words coming in through the chat. What a delight and pleasure to have time together today. You inspire me. So thank you. That's something that's in my heart that I'm walking away with, is that inspiring. So questions or things that have come up for you that we could have more conversation on. And feel free to unmute yourself, like Courtney said. I think somebody is.
I have a question, Heather. This is Rhonda with Bethel 4-H. During COVID and everything, we had a site-based program, and now we're reinventing ourselves, trying to do what we used to do in new ways, which is working. But one of the things that, I put in the chat box a little bit, our kids, us, we've gone through a lot of loss and grieving. And I don't know that, the kids are, we usually wait for the pet to die or, someone in the family or something, but we've lost and are grieving a lot of different stuff. So is there other, specific to grief or how to work through, I've lost that time with my friend, how to work through grieving processes with the kids, because I think that'll help them when they come to the point of actually losing the pet or a family member or something. I'm also saying that and gearing up that in Bethel, we have started to lose people to COVID, and how to how to deal with the community with that, because it's so small that you can't just have one of those and it not affect everybody. So if there's tools or ways dealing specifically with grief.
I'm so happy that you brought that up, Rhonda, because I think that is such a huge piece of what we're all experiencing right now, and grief all along the continuum. Like you said, that grief from not being able to see friends in person, that is a big grief, to now starting to lose people due to COVID. So two things pop up for me as starting points. Sharon Fischel with the Department of Education, she and Pat Sidmore have a webinar that they've been offering for adults. It's for adults thinking about grief. So it's like setting the stage for caring adults then to have conversations in the community or conversations with kids. So I'll type in Sharon's email address and make sure, because they are doing this webinar all across the state for schools and other organizations. So I think that could be a great starting place. And actually, as I'm speaking that, it's not specific COVID related, but I know that Deed has a webinar on grief. So that might be interesting to also watch. It was created before COVID, but I bet there are some things that could be used. But Sharon and their current COVID grief webinar, I think would be really good. I know in the resource list that you have now is, I think the International International Restorative Practices Institute has some information on circles right now. So I think that that could be an interesting place to start. And I know one of the other resources on the list comes from the Mental Health Technology Transfer Center, which I think is like a fancy way to say a resource center. And I think there are some resources in that also for grief. So what an important point, both for us as adults and then how we're working with students around that.
Thank you.
Thank you for bringing that up. And that also sparked in me, ooh, when I go back to tidy up that resource list and make it pretty, pulling that out seems really important so that you don't have to sift through those resources, but it's like right there that you can find those resources. So I'm making a note to myself for that. What else? While there's some thinking time, I'm going to type Sharon's email address in there. So I'm going to look distracted for a minute, but I'm still listening while I get her email address.
That will give everyone a quick moment too, that if you do have a question that you'd rather pose in the chat box, if you want to type that in at this time, we can take a peek. That would be great too. Thanks. And then just a reminder to the group, there is one session at 1:30 that will be our closeout and breakout rooms. And there's, there's Sharon's address. And Sharon and Pat just recently spoke to our staff in Fairbanks, and they have so many resources and these really beautiful inspirational cards that I think a team of folks in Juneau came up with that really you could put all over your town, that really are just like gratitudes and you matter. And I know our staff was very inspired by those. It's just one small resource. They had so many.
Thank you for speaking to that, Courtney. I haven't yet had a chance to tune into one of those workshops. So thank you for speaking to personal experience of it. Well, I offer up my email address, which is on the screen right now, and please feel free to contact me. I don't see any more questions in the chat, so I think it might be that people need to get up and stretch and move around, maybe get a snack before the closing, take some deep breaths.
That tells me everyone paid great attention in the session and knows to step into the self-care. So thank you. If everyone who's still on would like to give their final thanks to Heather. What a great session. What a great way to inspire folks before a weekend and before another work week. So thanks so much for your time, and we wish you to be well. Have a happy holiday season, and thank you for your contributions again.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks. And Courtney and Anna, is it possible for me to get the chat so that I could paste in the ideas into that document?
Yes, you can get the chat. I've recorded it.
Okay.
I was going to say, yeah, I think all of there's a fancy group taking on that. I think we'll have all the technical assistance you need.
Okay, so will that be emailed to me, or how will I get that?
Heather, I can email it to you.
Okay, that would be really great. And I'm so sorry to be asking persnickety questions. Will that be quick? Should I plan to get it right away and paste them in?
So it would be about 5 to 7 business days after.
Oh.
So I guess It might be after Thanksgiving when we get them out. It could possibly be early next week. It just depends.
Let's see. Okay.
So about a week. Anna, maybe we can shoot out an email to let folks know, like with conference wrap-up stuff, that that there's a lot to get organized, but that they'll try to get that out to our presenters and within a week or so, and then it will be available to the rest of the attendees.
Yes, I will let Thomas know to just make an announcement. With Thanksgiving, it usually is about a week, but with Thanksgiving, it might be like early next week. So it should be fairly quick, but I will keep you updated.
And I think, you know what? I was actually able to download it, so I haven't. I thought I had remembered that in the chat, clicking on those 3 little buttons, I could download it. So I have it, so I'll be able to paste things into that resource document.
Perfect. And Heather too, I don't know if I know you had a few links that you shared throughout. If you just wanted to email me those afterwards, and I can also share that out via.
That would be really, yeah.
Okay, let's plan on doing that.
Yeah, that would be great, because then everybody has the document. Great. Okay, anything else from me? Oh, there you are. It's nice to see you. Well, it seems like people got so much out of the conference. I mean, what people were talking about, it really looks like it was very well done, and that people had a lot of useful information.
Well, thank you. And then Heather, you want to stick around for the closing session, you are more than welcome to as well, if you would like.
Thanks.
I'm actually going to pop over there and start getting that ready. So I will see you later.
Okay. Yeah.
Not in this capacity, in another, I'm sure.
Yeah. All right. Take care.
All right, bye.
Bye.